usual. And Debbie, let's get kicked off then, because, well, the health service continues to collapse.
It does indeed. Happy New Year, everyone. And it's not too happy for people waiting for treatment in the NHS because, of course, we know the junior doctors have just started a 6-day strike. This is the longest in NHS history. Started at 7 o'clock today and it finishes at 7 o'clock on January the 9th. Now, this means all doctors under consultant level. That doesn't include GPs, but it also doesn't include military doctors either. So it's possible that you may see some military personnel in hospital for the next 6 days, but crisis in the NHS. And more worry too, as Japanese researchers have, they've just put out a study saying to expect or predict a pandemic of heart failure. Now, this is being blamed on COVID-19, and the study apparently shows that people who haven't had the vaccine are more at risk because COVID is the cause. Now, obviously, we know of the huge problems that we've seen with serious adverse reactions with regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. There doesn't seem to be any research into that. And I can tell you that most people that I speak to that are unvaccinated don't appear to be having heart trouble at the moment.
Well, the question is, what is the reason for this? Is it to cover up, let's say, any speculation or any discussion or any analysis of whether COVID-19 vaccines are responsible for the heart issues that are clearly happening and excess deaths in general? This was tweeted out by Leo Varadkar, the Irish Taoiseach, on the 2nd of January, yesterday. No excess deaths here, that's in Ireland, during COVID pandemic, OECD report says, as Health Minister hails high vaccine uptake. And this is linking to an independent.ie article. This article, the headline is "No Excess Deaths Here During COVID Pandemic." So the question is, what was this about? Well, the OECD published, or at least the Irish government published this graph based on the OECD statistics. And of course, the OECD had decided that really the statistics over excess mortality just didn't seem to be quite right, and the models that were being used didn't seem to be quite right, and maybe they needed to be adjusted. And so they have been adjusted now, and you can see there that New Zealand had, the adjusted figures are in the light blue, of course, had apparently the lowest excess mortality with looks like about -4%. Excess mortality. Ireland looks like about -3 or so. That looks like the fourth best in these new adjusted figures. We can see the OECD average in the middle there with the red bar, and to the right of that, the UK, the United Kingdom, has a reasonably significant excess mortality, even with the adjusted figures. The worst countries there, the likes of Turkey, Costa Rica, United States, significantly worse than the United Kingdom, Bulgaria, Colombia, and Mexico. Now, the reason that they're saying that the figures can be made negative with respect to Ireland is because they say they have now adjusted for population growth and so on, compared to population pre-COVID-19. But of course, for 2 years, nobody was allowed to travel terribly much. And so it's population increase has happened certainly in 2023 as a result of immigration and so on. But there's some questions to be asked about this still. But the problem is that if we go back a year or two, we see headlines like this: Ireland's excess mortality rate, 4th highest in the EU. And that's from breakingnews.ie and from the Irish Examiner here. Funerals delayed as increase in number of deaths puts mortuaries under pressure. These were from, well, that was from January 2023. So it's all a bit unclear how the OECD has arrived at this particular claim. Let's have a look at this, because of course the big question that remains and the big elephant in the room is whether we're seeing the same excess mortality in Africa, and we certainly didn't during the COVID years themselves. So this was the New York Times from 2022 trying to cope with this fact with their headline, "Trying to Solve a COVID Mystery, Africa's Low Death Rates." And here's LSE, the London School of Economics, from May this year. Africa's COVID-19 statistics highlights bias in excess death modelling. So they're all flailing around trying to find an explanation for excess mortality, which doesn't involve vaccinations. And I just find that quite an incredible situation. In the meantime, the MHRA, because of course they do great things, have announced they announced this actually in May last year, the new international recognition framework. I'm bringing this back on screen because they have now stood this up. It is now formal, and any medicine coming into the UK that's recognised by certain other countries can be applied for and get an automatic pass by the MHRA, because the international recognition framework is now live as of the 1st of January this year. Let's look at the other countries. We've got Australia, Canada, Switzerland, Singapore, Japan, United States, the European Union and European Economic Area, including the various member states, are all involved in this. And so but we don't need to worry, because what they're saying is that as a sovereign regulator, the MHRA retains ultimate authority to accept or reject applications submitted under the IRP, but the shared global expertise inherent in the IRP process is designed to result in a more rapid, efficient and cost-effective process for applicants. At launch, the MHRA will partner with regulators in those countries, and that'll just be a shoe-in for various medications. So, Debbie, that must make you feel particularly positive about the new year. And of course, we must recognise the MHRA taking a leading role to become, at least it would like to see itself as, the global regulator.
Well, this was always the intention, obviously, from the get-go, the global regulator. But I think it's going to be very interesting, the next board meeting. So perhaps people that are watching might like to ask some questions, because grab your ticket now. The MHRA board meeting, which is scheduled for Tuesday, the 16th of January, 10 o'clock to 12:30. Now, please submit questions prior to, I think it's Monday, the 8th of January there, 2024. They won't accept questions afterwards, but a lot of questions to be asked. Our eyes are completely focused on the MHRA for the foreseeable future. So please join me for the MHRA board meeting and grab your ticket. But stay